The only thing we really get, and it's stuck in that space, is get a lot of managers who go, well, when I did this job and I started, I got paid this much. And so I think people should be paid that much. And it's changed.
That's something we can deal with.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
And that's a really interesting topic that HR people love to talk HR and debate stuff like, you can have multiple people in this room who all have different opinions. But that's one that I'm really interested in moving forward, is going back to that REM space. Especially in tech now, where we've seen that 30 to 40% increase now. We're going to see a lot of smaller companies go under because they can't afford to operate or pass the cost on to their client.
Just to clarify to the listeners, 30 to 40% increase over how many years? Or
2-3 years.
2-3 years.
Yeah.
So on average per year, 20% per year.
Yeah, correct.
That's incredible, as opposed to 5-10%. Yeah.
So and I won't speak for the entire country, but if you were in Adelaide 2-3 years ago and you're an API dev, you'd be on $85,000 ish. Depending on the market. Now you're looking at 150. It's just the way it is. But what we're also going to see is staying within your budget of what you actually are. Do you need to get a Ferrari employee if you're like a Ford Focus type company? Are you buying to what you need? And
Can you elaborate on that? Can you elaborate on that? That's
you can go out to market and you can get the best of the best, but it's going to cost you a fortune. So you now need to start thinking, at least in the tech space, of, is the return on that investment coming back as to what I need? Do I actually need the Ferrari?
Is that interesting? Is that what we were talking about before, Eddie? When I said, what we did, Eddie and I, we brought amazing, talented young people.
Yeah.
And you just said to us, just seeing the marketing is the best we've ever had. It's the way Eddie and I trained these guys and trusted them, gave them the room to thrive and trust themselves and create content. It maybe Alicia even speak to that, but you're not on the podcast, you're not allowed to. All right, but isn't that interesting? Are you saying something like that? For example, in my head, I could have been, I want to go and get someone who has got this perfect profile, 10 years of marketing and worked for these amazing companies, and they want $250,000 maybe.
Well, so what's a product marketer going to cost you? An average one's going to cost you, 160, 180 in market, something along those lines. But is it actually what you need for this? Is it going to be the right person? Have they got the background in that space? Or do you take a team of not as senior title people and build them together and see what you get? What you're going to have to do now is you're going to have to keep on top of their skill set and their REM to make sure you don't lose them to market as well.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So that's part of our job as well.
Next week. Yeah. No, we talked about it last week. You were good for a while. Okay.
but that's what it is too. Yeah. Especially if you're in a culture that builds and maintains talent. There's nothing worse than getting someone young and sculpting them into this perfect employee for you, and then you're like, oh, hang on, I haven't actually monitored what I'm paying them, and I'm still paying them grad wages or CPI on top of that over 3 or 4 years, when actually their value in market is a lot more. And that's why it's good to have those relationships too. And that's another one too. HR people are very funny when it comes to talking to money. My door's always been open on that discussion. You can have a topic. I'm sure you'd have multiple listeners come in with their own comments about, do you advertise REM in a role? That's another whole topic in itself. My one that I'm looking at the moment, we see with the best of the best, is you look at companies like Atlassian at the moment. So they're doing their base wage for a dev, which is $220,000 or $250,000, which is well above
But when
market.
you say base, what kind of years of experience are we talking about? What does that mean?
That's what they pay for a developer.
But what's the developer? It could be 2 years experience, could be 20. What does that mean?
Correct. But if you think about it, the first time before API dev is generally
API dev
is worth 150. They're paying 220 or 250.
I mean, we have people now, company getting paid 220, 250, but they've got decent amount of experience. We see it in years of experience.
I'd love to chat to the Atlassian HR and go, what are you going to do though? Because
what happens in a golden time? Well, if you keep going like that?
No, but you get this golden handcuff, right? What if you go into your job and you don't like it? You're like, that's fine. I can walk into another HR job tomorrow. I'm good at what I do. I'll walk out to market. I'll get another job. If you're in a company that's paying you well above market, you kind of go this, I don't really like what I do.
Where do you go from here?
I'm stuck because I get paid double the money.
I've already committed to a mortgage and a car and whatever. I can't go back in my financials. I'm stuck.
Correct.
That's $1 billion point.
Yeah, and that's what I'm dying to talk to, because clearly those HR people are living it now, and I want to know, how do you monitor that employee interaction and buy-in if you don't know if they're just doing it to claim a paycheck as well?
Part of the, this is a really $1 billion point. It's close to my heart in a slightly different aspect of it, I've always believed one of the problems young people can have if they get used to a certain lifestyle.
Correct.
How they can never go back. It becomes almost difficult, and it can really, it can have very bad consequences. And that's why, you really need to live within your means, such as if you get used to the credit card situation and you take up, you over mortgage, you over, your, what's the word I'm looking for? You Overcommit. There's another word, but yes, that's just as good. Thank you. Then, God forbid, the environment, the conditions and the economy changes. There's a downturn, or you lose your job, or something happens, and it becomes really difficult. You have to just get rid of everything. And you go back to minus instead of even being.
And that's one of the golden rules of HR too: is you don't know what anyone's situation is behind the scenes. So you can be on 150 grand a year and still live paycheck to paycheck. Do you know? There are people on 45 grand a year who do that, but there's also people on 150 plus a year.
Even $250,000, even 350, just over leveraging themselves.
Yeah. So that's what has to be in the back of your mind.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
they've got 2 houses, they're investing in 2 houses, so it's so tight, all the money just goes boom into those investments. Something goes wrong in the economy, they're gone.
Correct.
They've gone.
Or if you have to downsize as a HR person, sometimes you have difficult conversations. You're sitting there talking to them while you're talking about, this is what's going to happen. And then they're just going, I've got to make 2 payments next week on 2 houses, and what's going to happen there.
Very interesting. So if you take a job that is overpaying, you could be stuck if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is very quickly, within 2, 3, 6 months, you start to commit yourself to those level of earnings.
Correct.
And you're stuck with that commitment.
Yeah. See, it's an interesting one too. And again, it goes down to personal preference. But I always say to people, especially when it comes to leaving a job, there's a certain figure, and we'll again talk to the tech space, because your average wage in tech is going to be 110 to 120 per year. So I always say that in this space, there's a set. Money isn't always everything to every employee, but there is a certain level where those dollars actually do talk.
Yes.
So if you came to me and you said, "Come work for me, I'll give you 10 grand more," I'll sit there and I'll go, what's 10 grand? Like, I know my job inside out. I have my flexibility. I know everyone I work with. I can do the job with my eyes. Is it? But if you go to someone and you go, well, here's an extra 15, 30K, then all of a sudden they're like...
It's another story.
Yeah, it's another
worth
story.
the risk that comes with the change, yeah?
Yeah, and I think that's what I keep saying to people when we're talking about this at the moment with the moving fluctuate in the market is... Come talk to me. And that means sometimes I have to say to someone, they come in, they're like, I want $150,000. I'm like, well, actually, your position is this is the bracket, and this is
not always, yes, but talk. Let's talk.
Correct.
At least we can clarify.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Or, we have companies, because there is a tech shortage, there's a skill shortage globally, and especially in Australia during the COVID period as well. So we have people overpaying for roles massively, but you then have to sit down and go to the person and go, I can't offer you that money because it's not the right decision for the company long term. I'm glad you got an offer on the table, but consider this, and you talk about what you can do for career path or additional training. But you can't. Sometimes you can't match the money that's on offer as well.
Can happen.
They need to make it cool. And what we're seeing in industry at the moment is a lot of job hopping, where someone who's been a long-term employee with a company will depart, but the job they depart to, they go for 3-6 months, and then they're on to another one again straight away.